More than ready?
If I was a rich man, I probably wouldn't let a hooker spit in my mouth.
All right. Well, I mean, you get what you pay for, I guess. All right, here we are. Hello, welcome to Best Buddy Spookies. Today we are going to be talking about the original Black Christmas from 1974.
Fucking Black Christmas. All right, let me get this off my chest real quick.
I'm gonna let you go. You got a lot of emotions
Let me.
from this. So I'm gonna let you get started.
I
here.
remember you told me to watch this movie last night, and what the fuck was that movie? That movie was nuts. Now let me get this straight. Lord Jesus. I understand it's a classic. A lot of people love it. I respect it.
Cult following.
Cult
Yeah, cult following.
I
Cult
respect
following,
it
for sure.
But that movie was a goddamn. That movie was a sexual assault. I'm just saying that right now. That movie was a goddamn sexual assault.
Hey, he was aggressive. He was aggressive on the phone.
Because the story of Black Christmas is pretty much they had a lot of remakes, a lot of reimaginings. It's pretty much sorority girls who get trapped. Well, not trapped. It happens on Christmas Eve, and some crazy guy comes in, tries to kill them all. That's like the abridged version. The 1974 one was just something else. Like the killer, when he first started calling the girls, it was just aggressive.
It was aggressive. It was like just straight into, like, I feel like the R rating came from the phone calls alone.
I thought it was a horror movie at first, and I was just like, oh, okay, I seen the remake not too long ago, and I enjoyed the remakes. But this version, the original version, I'm thinking it's gonna be a horror movie. It was reminded me of a goddamn 1974 porno, because he calls the girls, and fucking he starts off scaring them, doing all the horror tropes that you know and love. Then he started getting a little freaky. He started saying, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to." We're about to get a little.
We're about to get real.
We're about to get a little graphic.
The vulgarity's
right
coming.
He starts doing all this crazy psycho talk, and the girls are just like, "Oh, okay, someone with the wrong number." Then he starts saying like, "Oh yeah, I want your cunt. I'm gonna lick your cunt." I was just sitting there, just like, what is that, sweet baby Jesus?
It escalated quickly. He went
like,
straight from being what they call him the moaner. They call it the moaner straight to just like verbal. Just
as soon as he said, "Hey, I'm trying to get and lick that cunt," I said, "Whoa, hey, look here." I was like, "Look here, Bucko. Let's calm it down." I was like, using the C word that early, he could have just said pussy. He could have just said that, but he started doing that, and then he went into talking about his meat, his schmeat. Started talking about his peener, and I'm sitting there middle of the night, just like, what am I watching? Is the wrong movie on Netflix? Because I was like, what is happening? Movie was nuts.
You were watching the right movie.
Movie was nuts. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this was definitely an interesting watch for sure. This is the first time I've ever seen it. It was just like coming up with ideas because, you know, this episode's coming out Christmas Eve.
Oh shit. Wait, is it?
Yeah, this episode's coming out Christmas Eve. So
we'll shiver my fucking timbers.
Yeah. So figured what better way to do it than a classic, in a way, Christmas themed horror movie. And we talked about a few different ones. We kind of landed on this one being one of the more like original, you know, holiday themed horror movies. It's one of the originals back from 1974, you know, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And yeah, it definitely it took a turn. Like it definitely kicked off real aggressive with him dropping cunt and dick and all that stuff on the thing
out of nowhere,
you know. And it was an interesting setup. I see how a lot of people consider this to be one of like the. I mean, it's one of the earlier slasher movies, being in the '70s and stuff like that.
Oh
And
yeah,
how it
classic slash.
plays on to some other ones like Halloween. I know like that had an influence, or that was influenced some by this movie, but I'm glad they didn't carry over the phone calls into Halloween. I feel like that would have.
I felt like that would have been something because I I'm just saying I don't know the director personally. I'm just saying the man directed this movie. He know what he wanted from this movie. I'm just saying he a little bit of a freak. He's a little bit of a nasty
If
boy.
I remember correctly, I think he's the voice on the phone. He did the voiceover on the phone. I'm almost positive that was him.
I'm just saying we dealing with a freak nasty boy. After them phone calls in the intro, it felt like I was in the P Diddy freak off. I said, "What is happening?" Felt like someone was gonna lather me up with baby oil.
Maybe it was. I don't know. We didn't get that far in the movie.
The thing about Black Christmas is one thing that threw me off is after the man snuck up in the house, he sneaks up in the house in the attic, and he's just doing his thing up there. And then when he kills the first girl with the plastic
With the
bag,
yeah,
he just leaves her up there. And I'm thinking to myself, nobody smells Samantha? Nobody smells Samantha up there. Because she was there for a couple days. Because I thought the movie was just gonna play out through the night. But days passed throughout that movie, and she was still up there. And I don't think Larry the locksmith butcher, who was up there, had the tools to keep. Somebody should have smelled her. I'm just saying she was up there for a couple days.
I just find it interesting that no one ever checked up there. They just like, oh, the room, not here. Okay,
Yeah, it was just like
they didn't
oh,
put a lot of effort into
they
looking
said,
for her.
oh, we can't find Samantha. I forgot her real name, so we're just gonna call her Samantha. Nobody's decided to say, you know what? Maybe we should check the attic. They just said, oh, she ain't here. She'll be back. Like she was a stray cat or something.
Yeah,
Like I was just thinking to myself, somebody got to check the house, but nobody checked the house.
no, and they didn't. And then they go on to, kind of going further along into the movie. So, she goes missing. They find out that she's missing because she goes to meet her dad, and her dad's like, "Hey, she never showed up." So then he goes to try to track her down, and then they end up going to the police station to do all the reporting and stuff like that. And Nash, the guy at the desk, is just I don't even know what he is doing or how he even has that job with like the stuff he's doing, the way he is acting.
Nash had the look on his face. I had the same look I have on my face going to work every day. He was fucking tired.
He was just tired.
He was tired, and he said, "If I got to deal with one more goddamn thing at this job," he was tired. He had that look of, I, I'm just done. He just had that look of, I'm done. What's going on? There's probably a prank. And the second kill in the movie, I'm hopping right into the second kill.
Yeah, let's just jump right in
When
there.
they had that goddamn fish hook in the attic, and he killed the old lady, and mind you, yet again, Mama was hanging there. Nobody smelt her too. I'm just saying he was a criminal mastermind because he was killing these people and nobody was smelling these bodies. And I was like, nobody throughout that movie went up to the attic.
Nobody.
Nobody.
Just her, because she was looking for that cat. She heard the cat up there.
Yeah, she did. She was the only one who went up to the attic.
Yeah, but only because of the cat. Otherwise, she never would have gone up there.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, so nobody heard this man just walking through the attic because it was an old ass house.
Yeah,
it was an old ass house. Somebody should have heard them creaks. If I was a white woman, and if I was a white woman, probably was in my other life. If I was a white woman, and if I heard, I'm sure he had to be walking around at some point. If I'm hearing creaks and stuff coming from the attic, the first thing I'm gonna think is, okay, maybe it's the house. Then after a couple more times, I'm gonna get out the bed and I'm gonna look around. I'm gonna wake up the sorority sisters and say, "Hey, I think somebody in that goddamn fucking attic. We need to call somebody." Regardless, and one of them might say, "Bethany, it's just an animal up there." And you know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say, "Bitch, go up there and look."
Are you gonna know? You're not gonna know until you
I'm
look.
gonna say, "Bitch, go up there and look. Somebody walking around up there. We need the cops." But hey, I I don't know what they were thinking because a lot of them could have lived throughout that movie. A lot of them could have lived. Not the first girl.
No,
The first girl, she
or the third, or the third. Well, we'll get to that one. So
which one was the third?
that was Barb, I believe was her name. Barb. She was the one that was constantly drinking throughout the entire movie, and then they're like, she's finally kind of like losing it a little bit, and she's just
Barb.
like, "Oh, hey, everyone's accusing me. Everyone thinks that I did it, that I'm responsible for her running off and dying. So why doesn't you just say it?" But she's just like completely hammered after she's talking about turtle fucking, and she was very, very interested in the turtle fucking thing.
She was.
She did. She just came out of nowhere talking about turtle fucking.
When I said this was a freaky movie, this was a freaky
Yeah.
freaky ass movie.
Yeah.
Because we was after the phone call and then her talking about the turtles fucking. I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, just like there's a lot of sexual deviance in this movie.
And then backwards from that, you talk about when they go to the police station the first time they talk to Nash, and he's like, she's spelling out fellatio.
Yeah, she's spelling out fellatio.
And he's like, oh yeah, this is a real thing. He's like, oh, this must be a new thing. Like, just completely over his head.
I shit you not. When she was spelling out fellatio, and he was looking at her like he didn't know what it meant, I said, this motherfucker looked like he's 45, 50. I'm like, he been on the earth long enough to know what fellatio was. And the way they was locking eyes after she said it and she was spelling it out, and she was like licking her lips, just like, yeah. She was like, yeah, write that shit.
She was like, write it down. She
was like, I want you to write it down. And he was looking at her just like he was slightly aroused. I said, this is a goddamn freaky ass movie.
He had a look of arousal, but also confused. Like, am I supposed to be?
Yeah, Black Christmas 1974. That was a goddamn freak off. It was a lot of devious, devilish, sexual innuendos in that goddamn movie.
That was a lot. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that going on in the movie. And like the phone calls just like get more and more disturbing. So I mean,
I'm happy that the later phone calls we like chilled out a little bit and it was just him going crazy.
Yeah.
But that first phone call really set the tone.
Yeah, that first one I think was I think one of the later ones I think he brings up the sexual stuff again, but it was mainly the first one was like full on into it.
It was like right out the gate. I was thinking to myself, you're not dealing with a serial killer. You're dealing with a goddamn sexual deviant.
Well, so I wonder, how long has this been going on for? Because at the beginning, the first phone call, they're like, hey, it's the Moaner again. So like he's called before.
Yeah, he's called it. And
so like, how long has this been going on for? And then it just like continues to escalate, but like, I don't know, why not report that earlier? But like if this is a continuing thing, you know, I know Barb kind of like downplayed a little bit, like, oh, I get 2 of these in the city a day.
Yeah, I thought
you shouldn't be getting any of them.
And I'm thinking to myself, Barb, what type of life are you living?
I know. What are you doing in the city?
Barb, the way Barb was acting, especially talking about fellatio, Barb was in them streets. She was in them streets. She was a city gal. Goddamn city gal.
I feel like she had a lot of pent upness that needed to be released. The way she carried on throughout that whole movie.
It goddamn had to be. And the fact that they called him the Moaner.
Yeah.
I'm just like, y'all couldn't have thought of any other names for this man? Like the Night Stalker, the Night Strangler, the fucking Sling Blade Sally. Like, y'all just called him the Moaner. That just sounds nasty.
Well, I mean, he was nasty, especially at the beginning too.
Yeah,
And that's what he was doing.
I mean, the motherfucker was nasty,
Yeah.
but I mean, like the moaner, like if I'm a police officer and I'm in this small town and I hear, oh yeah, we got another situation with the moaner, my thing is I'm gonna be like, that nasty motherfucker. We gotta hunt his ass down. Who knows what he doing on the other end of that phone?
Well, and the other thing too is like, so like, I mean, he like they have a name for him, so he's called before we get to that point in the movie, the
Yeah.
first phone call. So, like, how long was he planning this? You know, like, was he just like, was this his intention from the very beginning, or was he just like, I'm just gonna keep calling his house?
It looked like from the beginning of the movie when he was like scoping out the house, he was scoping out the house, just looking at it. This ain't his first rodeo. So he probably been around. The fact that it took us this long to catch him, I'm like, y'all gotta put that nigga behind bars. He is a menace.
And he was too, and it was like, so one thing I was found interesting too was when they go, so the first girl, she goes missing, and then they do the search party because the boyfriend shows up and is like, hey, why isn't this being taken serious? Which I think he was Nash's brother.
Yeah.
Which I think is what they mentioned at one point.
Yeah.
But then they do the sweep through the park.
Yeah.
And they find like a completely unrelated girl that was murdered in the park. And it's like, does that have anything to do with this? Or was it just like some extra thing? Like, did he kill her? She was just there?
It was just a random act of violence.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, taking place at the same time of our sexual deviant, the moaner. Is it a coincidence? Maybe. Did he have something to do with it? Probably not, because that motherfucker was still in the attic.
He was still in the attic.
Getting his steps in.
So we'll kind of go through a little bit. So, the movie, it starts where they're at the sorority house. They're doing the party. Then they're kicking all the guys out. They get the phone call from the moaner. He's doing his thing.
Just being fucking
nasty.
Nasty, dirty dog.
That's when the first girl goes upstairs. She gets, suffocated basically by the plastic. Then the next one, it goes to the house mother. She's getting ready to leave, and she's gonna go meet up with somebody. That's when she hears the cat in the attic. She goes up there. She gets taken out by this utility hook crane thing that belongs in a barn more than a house.
Believe in the attic. That's something you see on the damn pirate shit.
And then you go to the next one. You got Barb, because that's after Barb kind of goes on her drunken little rampage and they just start yelling at a bunch of stuff about how everyone knows, like, hey, I know you're blaming me. I know you think it's my fault. Just say it. And they like, go to bed, Barb, you're drunk. And then
and I'm all like, why would y'all think Barb is the killer or Barb had anything to do with it? Barb is fucked up 24/7.
She is. And I think, yeah, like, she didn't kill him, but kill her. Yeah. But it was just like, oh, you all think it's my fault that I scared her away or made her run off. And it's like, not the time. Not the time. It's not about you, Barb.
Barb had too many goddamn vodka.
She had a lot. She was drinking with those kids. Those like kids coming over to the house, and she's like got the kids sitting on her lap, and she's like, "You want some of this?" and blah, like that.
Yeah, Barb was having them sips.
Yeah,
Barb was having them sips.
She had a lot. She
was having straight vodka and teacups.
There's a lot of drinking in there. Even the house mother, she had like bottles stashed in a book.
Yo, the house mother was a goddamn alcoholic.
She had that other one in the toilet tank.
In the toilet, she had bottles everywhere.
Yeah.
I said, Jesus Christ.
She was like a drink spy. She was like stashing them all over the house.
I was concerned. I said, baby, your liver must be screaming.
Yeah,
your liver must be screaming.
A lot.
But the funny thing was, she had all them drinks within the house, but she was never as fucked up as Barb.
No, well, because I think Barb was just going the whole time.
Yeah, Barb was having too many.
She was having, like, the house mother was having a sip here. Someone's coming, gotta hide it. Oh, maybe I'll find this one in the
Barb
toilet.
was just
Drink
having
that.
them sip sips.
Barb-
Barb was having them sip sips.
I think Barb had something like a drink the whole time,
I wouldn't
except for
be-
the police station.
I wouldn't be surprised if Barb was coked out too. Barb had to be doing some lines. She
I
had
don't
to
know.
be
She was pretty tired. Yeah,
she was
she would have had
doing-
more energy if she had.
She needed more energy. I mean, she would have been fine. I don't even agree with how she died.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she basically they're like, hey, you need to go to bed. You're drunk. You need to sleep it off. So she goes in there, and then she wakes up at one point because she's like, oh, I had this dream like somebody was in my room and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then she just goes back to sleep, and then dude kills her with like that glass unicorn thing, just like stabs her a bunch.
Yeah, the fucking deviant dick devil who just comes in and just starts stabbing her with the unicorn. I said, Barb died.
Barb dead.
Barb's done.
Barb's done.
Barb's done.
And I think that after, I believe it's after Barb dies, there might be a little bit before. I'm trying to remember where Jess, the main girl played by Olivia Hussey, her boyfriend Peter. I think that's when he shows up in the house.
Peter was a little weird.
Peter was a weird guy.
Peter was
He was a weird guy. So like, all right, Peter was a weird guy, and I do feel kind of bad for him, but he was also a weird guy. But I wonder if this led into him being more weird than he was before when we met him, because Jess calls him on the phone and is having this conversation like, hey, we need to have a conversation, like a talk, like this is a big deal. And he is like telling her like, hey, I'm sorry, like I've just been really out of it. I've been up for like 3 or 4 days practicing for this big piano recital. You know how important this is to me. Like this is a big deal thing. And she's like, we need to have this conversation. Like this has to happen now.
Yeah.
So she meets him down there
Oh shit.
where he's, this hall, there's a piano. This is where he's going to have this recital thing. And she is like dead set on telling him, hey, I'm pregnant and I don't want to have this baby. And he's very distraught because he's like, oh, I think that's great. We're going to have a baby. Like, we're going to have a family.
Right?
And she's like, I don't think I love you. I don't like, and I don't want to have this baby. And we can have a rational conversation later after I tell you this information that's going to fuck up your whole mindset after you've been up for 3 days
Playing the piano.
3
days
because of this big rehearsal performance thing that he's got going on. It's very nice looking piano hall that he's in. And then it fast forwards a little bit and he's not even looking at the keys.
Peter was not in the right place mentally.
He's just like just distraught, just slapping all the keys, like nothing. It didn't even make a song. It just sounded like
Peter was a little weird.
Yes, he was.
But at the same time, I'm sure she knew Peter was a little off. Peter was a little off.
He was.
He was good at the piano, but he was a little off. And you don't tell off people. Like that sent Peter over the deep end.
Yeah,
That
and
sent Peter over the deep
he
end.
already looked like he belonged in A Clockwork Orange with the hair and the turtleneck.
Peter looked like the type of dude I would see at Denny's at 2 a.m. trying to sell me 6 lines in a Red Bull. But if I decline, he's gonna stab me.
He might.
Like Peter looks like the type of guy we need to watch out for.
Yeah,
he's like that. He's like that silent person at work.
He wasn't taking no.
He's like that silent person at work that tells you, "Hey, you probably shouldn't come to work tomorrow." He's that type of guy.
Yeah.
Peter was a little off.
He was a little off, but like, and then you add on, like just the way he like talked and his demeanor and everything before he gets the bombshell dropped on him that, hey, I have your baby, but I don't want it, so I'm gonna go through that process. Right before, like I feel like on her part, that felt intentional. Like I'm gonna ruin whatever you have going on. I'm not gonna talk to you afterwards.
I feel like it was a setup to make you think, hey, maybe Peter's the killer.
Yeah, I
But we
mean,
all knew Peter wasn't the killer.
I don't.
Peter was too focused on piano and being weird and like shaving his feet and doing all eating mayonnaise sandwiches. He was doing
Yeah, he
that
was a
weird
weird
stuff
guy.
in the dark.
And like even like towards the end where she's running through that. I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit with the movie. We kind of go bouncing back and forth here, but I think it's like at that point where Barb is killed, where he is seen, because that's when she's on the phone, and then there's the point of view. They do a lot of point of POVs from the killer's, point of view, which perspective, which I do like. I do like that. I can see how maybe they got that influence into Halloween. Because like the whole beginning of the first Halloween, that first killer's perspective thing was really cool. With this one, I like the use of that, and they use it all different kinds of things, and just like like I think it's after he killed the house mother where he's like freaking out. He's like pushing everything down and just like
motherfucker just started going crazy.
He was loud,
and yet again,
he was loud.
Yet again, nobody heard that because he was tossing shit.
Yeah.
He was throwing stuff. He was like a child who didn't get their way in Toys R Us, and he was making a ruckus. And I'm just like, nobody heard that.
Nobody.
Was any when he was doing that? Was people in the house?
I don't think so. I mean, if I'm trying to think back, I don't think so. Maybe that's how he got away with it. But he was noisy.
He was noisy. I'm all like.
But he was getting around that house too, like because after he kills Barb, stabs her to death, and then that's when Olivia or not Olivia, sorry, her name's Jess, and the other girl, Lynn, I think it was.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we gotta go make sure everything's locked because they're doing another sweep, and these people are like, hey, make sure your doors and windows are locked, and then they're like, oh shit, we got to make sure everything's locked. So they realize like everything's unlocked. Terrible. I don't know how you're just leaving all your shit unlocked.
Terrible preparation.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, we got to go lock everything. Everything is unlocked. You got to go lock all of it up now. So they're going around checking all the doors and windows. And that's when I feel bad because I think her name is Lynn. She goes into Barb's room to check on her because I think it wasn't opened at first, but then she was able to get it open.
Yeah.
And that's when, or like it wasn't open. So she was like started to walk away, and then the door kind of opened on its own. So she went in there to check on Barb. Killer's behind the door, takes her out, and then now it's just Jess. And before that, when Peter came down the stairs to kind of make you think that maybe it is the killer, because after every time, except for the first one, every time somebody dies, killer calls on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
After, except for the first girl, the phone call was before that one, and then he ends up killing her. But then after the house mother gets killed, it goes to the phone call. Jess is getting the call, and I think that's where they try to set it out with Peter because that's when it starts talking about different personalities, different like voices, different characters about like, oh, what'd you do with the baby? And then it's like, okay, you're trying to make it look like, well, is Peter the one? Because like, now they're talking about Peter.
You ain't gonna fucking trick me. It's not Peter.
Yeah.
They wanted to make it seem like it was Peter, but Peter, I feel like, even though Peter was a little weird, I feel like he couldn't. He didn't have the backbone to just kill 4 girls and still interact and mingle with them.
Yeah.
He didn't seem like that guy. And the fact what really pissed me off, I said, look here, bro. I said, look here, bucko. When the last girl was in the house and the police called and they said, hey, the call's coming from in the house. And she was like, what? And the cop said, bitch, the call is coming from in the house. She should have left that goddamn house.
Well, that scene. So rewind a little bit. Once they go and get the cops involved again for like the second time, that's when they go, hey, we're going to tap your phone. we're going to try to track this person and get the location of the caller. And each phone call, it's never long enough. It's never long enough for them to get it tapped on until the last one after he kills Lynn again.
When he starts feeling
when
when the freaky boys start feeling freaky.
Yeah, when he kills like the last girl, like they tap that, they've tapped the 2 calls before that, and then they're like, hey, it's just, you gotta get him on a little bit longer. So then he calls again after killing the last girl, and they get it enough to realize, like, hey, the calls are coming from inside the house. Now, Lieutenant, which John Saxon, I believe is his name, the actor who goes on to play the father in The Nightmare on Elm Street, which is like, this must be his origin story.
Yeah, he went.
He went from this.
He went from one fucked up town, had a family, then went to Elm Street, and he was just like, I just can't get a fucking
He's
break.
like, I gotta retire.
I gotta change professions.
Yeah, he's like, I need to stop. But even he's like, he tells Nash, and Nash has like no tact, because he's like, hey, I need you to call and talk to Jess, and when they pick up the phone, I need you to tell her, hey, I need you to walk outside, don't ask any questions, and just wait for the cops. That's it. And he was like, do not, under any circumstances, tell her that the calls are coming from within the house. Very clear, straightforward instructions. Now, I can understand, like, Jess being like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And I feel like he tried, I think, like 2 times. Like, hey, just walk out, put the phone down,
and just walk outside.
Walk out the front door and just wait for the cops, because he was like a few minutes away. I don't think he was that far away.
Oh yeah, it wasn't that far.
The lieutenant. So then she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I think he's like, "Please, just do what I'm telling you. Just put the phone down and walk out of the house."
That's all she had to do.
That's it. But he only tried like twice. He
got frustrated.
He got
frustrated.
He did.
He said, walk out the house once, walk out the house twice. And then he was like, look, bitch, the killer's in the house. He said, I'm tired. He probably been working an 11-hour shift. He probably said, he's in the house. Do what you want to do. That's the energy he gave off. He said, I told your ass twice. Now I'm telling you a 3rd time, the killer's in the house. Now, if you don't want to listen, that's on you. I'm about to go take my lunch. That's the energy he was giving off.
Well, he just kept like yelling it, like, hey, he's in the house. But like, he just kept repeating that part, and it's like, I mean, it's done at that point. Like, she knows he's in the house. But then,
was he in the wrong? I think not.
Probably not. Okay, I'll let it go no. But like, because she was just arguing with him when she should have just walked out the fucking door.
She just
walked the fuck out the fucking door.
As soon, again, if I was a white woman, and the cop told me, hey, I forget what you're doing, hang up the phone and walk out the house, I'm all like, hey, there's a lot of murders that have been going on, a lot of weird shit going on. I'm walking out the house. The fact that she was just like, what do you mean? Why? Why can't I stay in the house? Tell me what's going on. He said, hey, please leave the house. Then he said, all right, please leave the house. And then when he got fed up and said, the killer's in the house, her first instinct should have said, oh shit, no shit. So this serious. All right,
I should get out the house.
I should get out the house. But the fact that she freaked out and then was looking upstairs for her friend, screaming.
Yeah.
After that, she was just screaming her lungs out like she was at a Taylor Swift concert.
She was just going for it.
If nobody answering you and the cop just said he's in the house, bitch, your friend is gone.
Both of them.
Samantha, your friend is gone. Pack it up, bucko. We gotta get the hell up out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
and this is like right after, or shortly after, the last girl is murdered, And then Peter had already showed up, and they had another argument where she basically says like, "Oh, I'm not going to marry you. Like, I don't want to be this family. You have your dreams, I have my stuff. Blah, separate ways, all that kind of basically."
Yeah.
And they like feel like they tried to lean into him being the killer, but I don't know. I didn't really line up and do it because she's yelling up the stairs, no one's responding,
Nobody
and
responded.
then eventually she runs down into the basement because I think she gets a glimpse of
Yeah.
like the killer in the shadow. Doesn't really see his face, but then she ends up like she's running away from him.
She goes upstairs
She goes
first.
upstairs. She finds the bodies,
And she
but
finds
then
the bodies.
but then I think she sees just like the eye, like through the light, and that's when she's like, "Oh shit, I gotta leave.
And she
I
just
should have
starts
went out the front
breaking it.
door because then she did try to go downstairs and she couldn't unlock the front door. It was a turn lock.
Yeah.
I don't really understand. It looked like you had turned it,
that.
but she didn't. That's fine. So then she ran down to the basement. And she locked herself in the basement, and then she's going down there. She's trying to hide it, and you have the shadow of the figure like on the outside. Turns out it was Peter, and he like broke the window.
He was concerned.
I don't know. The way he approached is not how you approach people.
Well, Peter is a weird guy, so we got to take that into consideration.
But read the room.
He didn't
like you're approaching in a predatory way.
He didn't grow up with good social skills. That's the problem. That's the problem.
No. So I feel like that's where they try to lean into him possibly being the killer, where she's hiding not very well. She's hiding in the light, where it's like right on her face, and it's like there's a lot of shadows. You could do a better job of hiding. It's like she wanted to be caught.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then like he approaches in like this really weird, like, "Oh, why didn't you say something when I was calling you?" And he's like approaching her like Pennywise. It's like kind of getting a little closer like this. And then like so then it pulls out of that, the camera comes out, the cop shows up. They go and they go through the house, they break down into the basement, and they find her. She's unconscious, I believe, and he's dead.
Yeah,
he's dead, like right in front of her, because she had like the fire poker and killed him somehow. Poke stab
off screen.
Yeah, off screen. A lot of the deaths happen off screen.
Yeah,
like
budget constraints.
Budget constraints. I know, like I think the director said that he thought it would be more unsettling if it was off screen and you had to fill it in. That's fine. But
I love how
choice was made.
I love how he decided to have the deaths off screen and have that filled in, but all the sexual deviant shit. He said, let's leave that in there. I don't want them to guess about that. I want them to see it.
I want them to hear it.
I want them to hear it.
I want them to hear it. I want to hear what I have to say.
Man, he said a lot.
He said a lot of stuff.
I was feeling some type of way after that first phone call. I was like, "Yo, hey, we need to chill out just a bit. Just a bit. Give me about 15, 20 minutes to get into the movie before we start."
Nope.
Before we start.
He was like, "Let's get right into it." It was like that definitely kind of took me back. Like I was sitting there watching it and listening to this guy just like start dropping pig cunts and all this other stuff. Like repeatedly just like dropping these lines, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like,
yeah, I was just
like,
he was saying it. I was livid. I said, "Hey, we need to catch him right now. This man is a predator.
He's a menace.
He is a menace.
He's a menace.
He is a goddamn menace."
So the movie, of course, it ends. The cops get there, they find them. They just take her into her room and they put her in bed, and she's in shock. They say that she's recovering from shock, so she's out of it. She is night. She is sleeping. She's out. And then the dad of the first girl that went missing, he's been trying to, help find all this stuff out going on. He passes out. And then they all like, "Go quick. We'll take him out and we'll take it. They're like, "Well, he's passed out. Let's carry him out." So the lieutenant leaves. I think Nash is there. He's leaving. Then the dad passes out because I think it's Nash and I believe it's the mom, like his wife, the older guy's wife. So they like help get him
Everybody leave
out.
the house.
They all leave Jess in the bed because they think, oh, we got Peter. Peter was the killer. He's dead now. Death by poker.
My thing is, why are we leaving her inside the house?
Exactly.
We should have got her in an ambulance. We should have got her to the doctor. I'm just saying, the cops in this town, they're not that good.
But they left a lot. They left a lot alone.
They left her alone, and that's why they didn't catch the moaner.
Well, okay. So to me, they shouldn't have left her alone.
Oh, you should.
Because okay. So they leave her alone in a state of shock. Somebody should be monitoring her. Like, what if something happens? You know, like a doctor, anybody, or why didn't you put her in an ambulance and take her to a hospital for, like, hey, you should probably be seen by a medical professional.
Like somebody
and monitored.
Somebody should have.
But they fucking leave her there. And there's like one cop standing outside.
And he looked like he was.
He looked lost. He looked confused because
he was probably smoking too.
So like it pans out of her room when everyone leaves her there. The camera comes out and it kind of like walks around and it looks at the ladders going up to the attic.
And then the attic
opens up and then you hear the voice again. So it wasn't Peter. You don't know who it is.
We don't know.
You don't know what's going on. Which is I don't know. Like, I don't know if I needed to know who the killer was, but at the same time, it was left very much like, hey, he's still here. And it's like, but like, who is he? You almost like want to know who it is, because then if you
I know who he is.
Oh.
He's a goddamn predator.
I know it's a predator.
He's a goddamn sexual demon. I know who he is. I got that mother fudger's memo.
Oh.
I said, look here, bucko. We know what you are. And the fact that we just left her in the house, we should have got a sweep of that house.
Yeah, they didn't really do.
We didn't do
Nobody checked.
We didn't do no cop shit.
Like, nobody checked anything. They're like, they just assumed like, hey, you got him.
Hey, we got him.
They were like, hey, we should just make sure.
Wasn't no
what
crime.
If there was a second person?
Wasn't no crime scene. Wasn't no questions. Just like, all right.
Yeah.
Guess we got him. Case closed.
And then I like the ending is a little ambiguous where, okay, so he opened the thing, so he's still there. And then the movie ends where the phone's ringing again, but the camera's on the outside of the house. And it's like, I think the cop might be hearing it because he's kind of like looking back at the house after the phone starts ringing.
Yeah, he just stayed out there.
And he's kind of like, what do I do? And it just kind of pans out as the phone's ringing. So it's like, did she die? Did he get her? Because, yeah, you could say like, oh, maybe she lived. But his phone calls, aside from the first one, but like the phone calls are happening after he kills somebody. After he kills the house mother, there's a phone call. After he kills Barb, there's a phone call. After he kills the other girl, phone call.
So she might be dead. Maybe. We don't know. All I know is that there were decisions made in this movie that had to happen. But I'm just thinking to myself, there's certain things in this movie where I said, okay, we need to start thinking. Because we not using our brains right now.
No, there wasn't a lot of that.
I mean, I don't think she was if she did die at the end of the movie, I wouldn't be too upset because she made the decision to stay in the house.
That's true. But then also maybe he was calling. Maybe she didn't die, right? Maybe he didn't kill her. And he's just calling like, yeah, you got the wrong guy. You done fucked up.
And
but she's probably still like, let's fuck, because he needed to go anyway. That's fine.
Yeah, it was
Clockwork Peter was weird.
It was a very weird movie. I would say I'd tell people to watch it. I tell people to watch it. Let me know how you feel afterwards, because I know how I felt. I felt concerned. I felt concerned.
I don't know how I felt after watching it. You know, like, so this was the first time I've ever watched it, as it was yours. And, you know, I went back and I kind of went through it like a few more times just to kind of try to see if I can pick up on some more things.
It was a
trying to go in there.
very
It
classic throwback slasher movie with a lot of things that just didn't add up. I'm gonna say it was a fun movie. I'm gonna say go watch it. Tell me how you feel afterwards.
I think you should watch it. I think anybody who likes horror movies should give it a watch. I mean, like, that's pretty much why we did it. It's like, hey, this is a classic. This is around Christmas time. Again, you know, this episode comes out Christmas Eve. It just kind of made sense. Like, hey, let's give it a shot and let's see. You know, I know a lot of people like this movie.
Yeah,
It's a cult. It's got a cult following.
Yeah, a lot of people like
you know,
this movie,
and it made some money.
I don't know if they like it for the right or wrong reasons. Because if I'm telling somebody, hey, I really like Black Christmas, I'm gonna ask them, so what you like about it? And if they start sweating, then I know what they liked about it. They like them damn phone
They like the phone
calls.
calls.
Like them damn phone calls.
Well, it's okay. So what's interesting is so there's two other remakes of this movie. There was one that came out like last year, like the most recent one, like 22, 23, something like that.
I think so. I
And
suffer from dementia. I can't remember.
That's totally fine. And then there was another one back in like the earlier 2000s, and I saw that one first when it like around the time it came out. I believe I rented it from Blockbuster. Sounds like something that would have happened in our advanced age. But
yeah, we a little old.
we all
Oh.
a little old. But
Some people are like Blockbuster.
yeah,
What the hell is that? Oh, that's an ancient relic.
that's where you got movies.
Hollywood Video.
Hollywood Video. That's not.
Hollywood Video.
Never went to Hollywood Video though. I always went to Blockbuster growing up, but I had a friend down the street who always went to Hollywood Video, and they weren't that far apart. But I don't know, Blockbuster just always seemed to be like the one that we went to as a family.
I remember going to Blockbuster a lot till Hollywood Video. They just did it better a little bit. They just did it better. I think they went out of business first. I think
That's
so.
how much better they did it. I think you're right.
They put the cards on the table and they said, "All right, we know where this is going. We gotta pull out."
before we went to Blockbuster, I remember there was a video shop that we went to. It was called Super Video. That's back when we used to rent NES games, Nintendo, regular Nintendo, NES games,
Goddamn.
cartridges. We used to rent Contra was my favorite one, but that was like a smaller video store, and one of those video stores where you could, you know, they had the rentals behind the black curtain in the back corner of the room. And learning what that was, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back to my games right over there because I was in my youth.
I love how video stores, the only thing separating the adult movies was just a black curtain. And I shit you not, I always used to see just the weirdest, grimiest people just go into that.
Yeah.
It was some sketchy characters going into that black curtain. I was all thinking to myself, I was like, oh, what's back there? They got food back there?
I feel like that's how Spencer's is now. They just don't put the black curtain down in the back. You just walk and there's just fucking sex toys and dildos everywhere.
Oh,
No
yeah.
curtains. No curtains. You're just like, hey, look at these mugs. That's a dick over there. You're like, oh, this is a nice throw blanket right here. Oh, that requires batteries and that goes inside. You're like, wait a minute. No curtains whatsoever.
Is the equivalent of the no black curtain.
There is no black curtain. You
They're
just
like, hey, just come get some mugs, a throw blanket. There's some handcuffs and fucking goddamn mask and all types of crazy shit.
Yeah.
Got nipple clamps right next.
That's right.
Nipple clamps right next to the t-shirts.
Right next to the t-shirts. Right next to the cheap energy drinks.
Just see somebody walk up in there. Oh, that is a nice medium shirt. You know what? I could use some new clamps. Let me pick
You,
some out.
you go in, you look to your left, and there's a shelf of bondage equipment, and right across from it, what color lava lamp would you like for your room to go
Just-
along with it?
Just coming in there, just like, oh hey, I needed a new lava lamp. By the way, I think I might as well pick up a gimp suit too. I am going to
Yeah.
that party at Gig Harbor.
Yeah, I need chaps. What do you have?
Can I? I heard you guys got the new holiday Harry Potter shirts in. Can I get that and some assless chaps, please? Please and thank you.
Thank you. I could use a new G-string to go with my Terrifier 3 blanket.
The counter is just Terrifier 3 blanket, nipple clamps, assless chaps, and an energy drink.
Get a pack of trolley gummies on there too, just to feed that other need that you have.
Oh, sweet Jesus. You know what? If I walked in Spencer's and I saw that, we listen and we don't judge.
We know that's a new trend.
Who am I to judge? If you want to energy drinks and assless chaps, do your thing.
That's
I support it as long as you having a good time.
Yeah. Hey, if you're not hurting anybody against their will,
Yeah, if you're not hurting anybody, or if you're not throwing ass at anybody in a violent way, hey, do your thing.
do your thing. It's your life.
Do your thing.
Oh,
sweet Jesus.
Good God. But yeah, Black Christmas.
Black Christmas was something. And we gonna get that Olipop sponsorship. I just want
We
to
do
throw
Olipop.
I just
We do
wanna
Olipop.
throw
I'm going for the ghost.
I'm
I'm actually gonna drink some too. Make sure it's faced out
See,
that way.
I can't drink those ghosts. I remember you told me about them. I grabbed one and I said, let me try it. I drank half of that goddamn thing. It felt like my heart was about to explode out of my goddamn chest.
I think these just keep me going at a regular baseline. I think that's how this works.
I tasted that ghost. My heart started beating. I wasn't even upset. I said, is the Lord taking me home? I'm a little tired, so I wouldn't be upset if he took me right now. But I still got some stuff to do, but either or. That ghost made my heart hurt. Maybe I'm just too old. My heart can't take it no
We're just different, I guess. I think this just keeps my heart beating. I guess what it is.
more.
Oh man. So yeah, Black Christmas. I might watch it again. You know,
I'm not gonna watch it again.
You're not gonna watch it again. I might watch it again. I think I like to give movies, most things I should say, not just movies, but most things, but movies in this case, I like to give them like 2 watches. You know, just like give them like. I feel like sometimes the mood hits you a little bit differently. So the first time you watch it, okay, and then to give it a second watch, be like, okay, do I feel the same? That
Yeah.
I think that's fair to do with most. I'm gonna say most because I've seen movies and I don't ever want to see them again.
I feel like I watched Black Christmas 1974 one time's all I need.
I might give it another watch.
One time is all I need. I'm satisfied.
That's right. But before I fucking went off on my blockbuster tangent, the ending of each Black Christmas is different. So in the first one, you don't know who the killer is. He's still there, but you don't know who it is. In the second one, or the remake back in the early 2000s, you do find out who it is. And I think there's 2 because there's 2 different people. There's 2 names. There's Billy, and then there's like the mom or like the other voice in there. And the dude, if I remember correctly, and I haven't
so it's 2 killers?
I think so.
Ain't that about a bitch?
And I think what I remember, which totally fucking threw me off, was the killer in that one has jaundice.
Oh.
And he is yellow.
Oh.
Like that motherfucker from Sin City.
Oh.
Like he's that yellow. He's like this sign color. But like almost like over the top. Like the dude was glowing. I'm like, all right, he can't hide. You can see him. And then in the most recent one, I believe it is a group of people from another fraternity house fucking with these people at this fraternity house.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I'm like, okay.
Oh.
I haven't seen that one, but I from what I understand, that's like the difference, like the big noticeable difference with the endings is that they've changed it every time. Because like in the first one, I was like, man, I kind of want to know who the killer is, you know. But like, does that actually add anything for me? Does it take anything away?
I feel like it depends on the movie. Because sometimes you could do it right, where I don't need to know who the killer is, and sometimes I want to know. In this movie, I was okay with it. I was like, all right, that's fine. We need to get her out the house, though. We need to save that white girl and get her out the house. Please, Jesus, please.
Gotta save Juliet.
I was like, please, Jesus, somebody save her. Get up, save her.
What was funny to me is like, so Olivia Hussey, who plays Jess, the first and only movie I've ever seen her in was Romeo and Juliet back in school when they rolled out the movie on the cart. That was a thing. And then like the only other movie I've ever seen her in was this one. I was like, oh, that's quite the jump.
Oh yeah,
very different thematically.
Drastic transition.
I mean, there's love in there somewhere if you take those phone calls into consideration. It's a different kind. It's aggressive.
It was. I'm all about love, but that love that killer was showing them girls on the phone, I don't want that.
Yeah,
I don't want that.
No, that's not okay.
I don't want that.
Mm-mm.
No, I don't want
No.
that. I didn't think about it for a second. I was just like, do I want that type of aggression?
No,
I don't want that type of aggression.
So, I don't know. What do you think? What would you want to rate this movie? You want to do like a out of 5 rating for this movie? What do you think?
Nah, I just say go watch it.
Just go watch it.
Just go watch it.
Just go watch
it. Tell me how you feel.
I would love to hear what people think about this movie. It's a classic. 74. A lot of people use this as a holiday staple. Steve Martin, when he first met Olivia Hussey, was like, "Oh, you were in like my favorite movie," and she thought it was Romeo and Juliet. No, it was Black Christmas. Dude watched it like 27 times.
Oh yeah.
At the time that meeting took place.
Oh yeah. If he told me I watched Black Christmas like 20 some times, I'm leaning in and said, hey, for what? Why? For what? Why? Why are you watching it that many times? Are you a freaky boy? Are you one of them freaks like on the phone?
That's a lot of movies. That's a lot of times watching that one movie.
If I'm watching Black Christmas 20 some times, then you just need to know I'm a nasty freak. I'm a nasty freak girl.
All right. Well then, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I say go watch it and